AOC acted like she had it all figured out.
There's no discussion about gun violence in Chicago without talking about Indiana, due to the guns and the carnage and the lawlessness unleashed by those states.
During a House hearing, AOC rolled through her usual lines about why the Second Amendment doesn't matter, until Clay Higgins stepped in and brought much-needed clarity to the conversation.
Now I ask you all, what happened to that country, man? A country where homes were built in cities with no locks.
And today, we're covering it all. By the way, we just launched this channel, and we're gonna focus solely on debates. So if you believe truth isn't partisan, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump right into it.
Let's talk facts here. There was a lot of discussion about New York City. There is no discussion about gun violence in New York City without discussing the iron pipeline that is Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and honorary mention to Ohio, where 70% of likely illegal trafficked guns found in New York City come from. There's no discussion about gun violence in Chicago without talking about Indiana, because the violence and the mothers that we have to comfort are losing children due to the guns and the carnage and the lawlessness unleashed by those states. I move on. Every week in recent memory, we have had at least one mass shooting. This is not normal. Not only is it not normal, it is internationally embarrassing and delegitimizing to the United States.
First, no one claimed mass shootings are normal. So I'm not sure what AOC hoped to prove with that line, but her core argument falls apart the moment you start looking at the facts. The recent attack in DC is a clear example. An Afghan refugee targeted 2 National Guard soldiers in a city with some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Asylum seekers can't legally buy firearms either, yet it still happened. The simple truth is that criminals break laws, and with or without access to any gun. If you look at the countries across Europe or even Canada, you see the same pattern, only the weapon changes to cars or knives. But Alexandria kept going and shifted her focus to the NRA, saying this.
Now let's talk about why. Let's talk about one thing more important to lobbyists and the gun industry than children, than houses of faith, than human beings. Let's talk about profit. Mr. Suplina, in 2020, 22.8 million guns were sold, reflecting a 64% increase from 2019, correct?
Correct.
In 1 year. And across the board, gun manufacturers and ammunition companies began to see record profits. Is that right?
That's correct.
For context, the NRA spent about $250 million in 2020 alone. That's more than twice the entire salary of Congress combined. In 1 year. Lobbying against gun safety laws. There's also this discussion about anything but a gun, but that these are about violent people, but yet we aren't doing anything about addressing the actual root causes of misogyny, where 2/3 of mass shootings are connected to domestic violence, or the emergence of white supremacy radicalization, mass incarceration, and poverty, and the connections between that and mass shootings in our communities. I yield my time.
Can you imagine a member of Congress lecturing anyone about donor money? If it were up to me, the entire system would be shut down because it invites nothing but corruption. And while AOC loves to brag about small donors, recent reports show that she still avoids PAC money, but collects plenty of split-up contributions from powerful executives. For instance, Kevin Ward, the CEO of the Aspen Center in Colorado, broke up his contributions into small increments over a period of 2 months. Other executives include Evan Goldsberg, the founder of Oracle NetSuite, and Porter Deal, Bridgewater Associates' deputy CEO. That's Ray Dalio's hedge fund, who was warning of threats to democracy just last year. In simpler terms, everyone in Washington has someone they have to keep happy. Luckily, Clay Higgins then took the floor and things suddenly got a lot clearer. So let's go hear what he had to say.
I'm going to bring us back in time to World War II. America's population, 140 million. 15 million American men came home from World War II with deep scars and significant skills. They bore the invisible wounds of war. And there was weapons everywhere. We'll talk about mental challenge. My father was one of those men who was a Navy pilot in World War II. He came back from the war and built his family I'm the seventh of his 8 children. I was born in 1961. We had guns everywhere. There was virtually no regulation. Any child in the 50s could buy a weapon from any seller if Daddy sent them with the money. We didn't have mass shootings. It wasn't until 1968 in America that serial numbers were even required on weapons sold in this country. You order weapons through the Sears catalog by the mail.
Exactly. Most of the debate around gun violence focuses on symptoms instead of the real causes. Clay pointed straight to the cultural decay that we're dealing with, where personal responsibility has vanished and accountability barely exists. Repeat offenders walk right back into the streets, and every shocking act gets blasted across every screen in the country. Some even cheer on violence as long as it hits their political opponents. Add to that the way these incidents are turned into non-stop coverage, and the killers become household names overnight. Clay tied all of this together with a personal example that made the deeper impossible to ignore, and he raised some solid points.
1979, I began college. One of the jobs I had to work my way through college was as a carpenter. We restored historical buildings. To my amazement, you know what I discovered, Madam Chair? You know what these houses did not have that were built 100 years ago in cities in America? You know what they did not have, Commissioner? Locks. Locks. Now I ask you all, what happened to that country, man? A country where homes were built in cities with no locks. A country where guns were everywhere and virtually not regulated at all. Where millions of Americans, 14 million Americans came back, but we didn't have mass shootings. And here we sit today, where an entire once proud Democratic Party is presenting unbelievably unconstitutional laws to press upon our nation, and we have a police commissioner that says he would go home to home and confiscate legally owned weapons.
He's absolutely right. The bottom line is you can stack as many restrictions as you want, but when there's intent to commit a crime, these people will find a way around every rule. History proves it. Take prohibition as an example. Did it stop anyone from drinking? Not even close. It turned alcohol into a black market empire and helped create the mafia and modern organized crime in the United States. Examples like that are everywhere, yet AOC and the Democrats act as if none of this matters. Almost like ideology keeps them from seeing what's right in front of them. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, keep thinking.